Hello, everyone. This feels really vulnerable, but also really good to be recording this right now. Today, the intention for this particular video is to introduce the ancient healing secrets. It's a lineage of medicinal practices that dated back thousands of years, all the way back to Master Buddha. And this intro is it's a brief introduction of my knowledge that I've acquired so far about these ancient secrets and how they're coming to the forefront. It's just almost as if they're just being called because humanity really needs it right now at large. I really think it's a deep harmonization to coming back to our nature. I'm trying to shift the language from coming back to nature to coming back to our nature. So it's just framing it again as us, and not something outside of us that we're coming back to. It's something that's always been true in our being, in our cells. Now I think our mind, I guess, is integrating back on board with it, and that's really what these ancient practices teach at the core level. I'm by no means an expert. I had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Clint Rogers, who is an advocate and ambassador, a guru in these practices, and he is just one of many masters, a lineage of masters who have been practicing this for generations, for centuries, and just I'm so grateful that I was in the right place at the right time, and I listened to the callings and the knowings, and ended up at a summit. I was literally just invited last minute. It was a prosperity summit for building wealth in all areas of life: health, wealth, relationships, spirituality, business, all the things. And thank you to Miss Sarah Morel for giving me a free ticket. At the time, I had little to no money to be able to invest in a ticket, so she just gifted it to me. She was a lovely angel who was there, and again, I took that as a sign. I was like, man, it's an opportunity to be surrounded by these leaders in wealth, and I just see wealth as like a deeper connection to self and the divine and God, and wealth is also a way of like of flowing with that natural essence of creation and doing that in this human body. And I'm like, okay, cool. There's some people who have mastered that, and so I get to go learn from them for free, and I get to network. And so I went, and long story short, I can go deeper on that experience, but I just, the one, everyone did an amazing job, but the one that really stood out was this man by the name of Dr. Clint Rogers. He just had this glow to him. He's one of the, again, I think I'm getting, things are unveiling clearer and clearer in the sense that I'm able to see when people just, at first I could just see it in their skin, and it was just a feeling in my body, like a resonance. But now I think I can really start seeing this radiance off of people, like their auric field and stuff like that. And this man, again, he just had a glow. He just had a glow to him. And he told the story about, again, his father being in critical health and not wanting to give up on him, and how Western medicine, again, just wasn't able to help him with what he needed. And he tried everything in alternative medicines and things like that, XYZ. I've also had a similar experience, not on death's door, but to a place where I would be sick all the time. And so I can relate to it in many ways. And I was able to really turn that around with really just detoxifying my body and becoming aware of what I was putting in my body and what I was not putting in my body, and also just my relationships with my body and my relationships with my emotions, because I didn't really have that at all. They were just kind of pumping through me unconsciously, and didn't know like how to actually emotion essentially. And so all that was tied together, and I built an awareness of that over the past years. Been through my healing journey of releasing a lot, somatically and psychologically. And so I was able to relate a lot to his story that he told. And long story short, I was just fascinated by this man, and I've never heard someone say the word love more than this man. Never. Yeah, I just and it was so simple, because at that point I was sitting and I was trying to figure out, if I were to start a brand, like what would I talk about and things like that. And this man just reminded me about how simple it is, how simple expression is, and purpose, and all these things. And it's just as simple as, because it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter how you express, as long as it comes from this place, that this thing we call love, that we know is just, it's just undeniable. Like, we know what love is in our body, in our self, or in our sense of self. Like, we just know. And you just talk about love, and he's such a joyful being, such a radiant being. And you talk about love in all these different contexts, but he just used it so much, and it was just pumping in my subconscious. And I was just like, man, it really is that simple. I literally just needed to press record and share love in the way that I know best in that moment. And just like this video that I'm sharing is a way that I am sharing love. And it's such a gift. And so, again, I was so inspired by this man's energy. And it wasn't like, aside from all of his story, he was an amazing storyteller, had famous for a TEDx talk. And I didn't even know about his craft yet. I just knew, like, this guy feels like family. Really does. Just, there's something about his heart that's familiar within myself. And so anyway, he goes into telling more and more stories about like these miraculous stories of people having chronic illness and dis-ease in their body and losing all hope, and then including his father, and then talking about his mentor, Dr. Naram, who the late Dr. Naram. But he's so deep in spirit. Like, I literally feel his presence even as I speak to you now. He's just part of that lineage of masters who were really just stewards of love in the purest, most true way I've heard. I've like received from other people's stories and other people's words. And yeah, and so he just told all these stories, and I was just like, my smile just got bigger and bigger, and I became more relaxed in my body the more he spoke. And he also, and after he spoke, I was just like, man, I got to connect with this guy. I don't even know why. I'm just gonna trust it. I don't even care. I don't even know what I need to say. I haven't even gotten into his craft. Essentially, what they're known for is what's called pulse reading and pulse healing, where essentially they take your pulse in your wrist, and they're able to identify things that even like some of the most advanced medical technology couldn't even pinpoint for people. like people they would have like an array of diagnoses for years that Western medicine wasn't able to really heal, to really resolve, and then they would lose all hope, and they would be like, oh, why don't you go see Dr. Naram? And then he would go, and just from checking his pulse, they wouldn't have to say anything. He would just check their pulse, and he would be able to voice back to them all of the diagnoses that they would have in their past, as well as things that they may not have been fully conscious of, little nuances that, again, Western medicine and the technology, again, it has its validity, but I'm just here objectively speaking to the art of, it's more, I guess it's the yin, right? It's the Western is more of the yang, and this is more of the yin. And when they collaborate together, it's a really beautiful thing. But that's what Dr. Clint was doing. He was just taking people's pulses, then writing down some notes, and then setting up some consultations afterwards. And so I was curious about that, but I was more just curious about connecting with this guy because of the familiarity that was there and the safety. And he just has the biggest smile, and whenever he talks, there's just this deep enthusiasm for life, and it's not like this fake fluffy joy and happiness and smile. Like I literally feel he wakes up every day and that's just pumping and coursing through him effortlessly and naturally. And so that like liveliness is what I wanted to connect with more. And I was also curious about the practices. But so I sat down. I was like, there was, a line of people who wanted to connect with him and get their pulse read. And so when I finally got to connect with him, I just smiled back at him and I was like, wow, what a joy to be here with you now. And he's one of the few people who is just like fully there with you too, fully present, fully loving, unconditional. And he just asked me, I forget specifically what he asked me in the moment, but it was just, I remember it being really refreshing, whatever it was. And he was like, yeah, man. Or no, I was like, yeah, man. I just wanted to say first and foremost how you inspired me with your talk, speaking about love and how simple it is. And that just inspired me. I told him my background. If you don't know a little bit about my background, I started in the medical field as a physical therapist assistant. I told him about my experience because I had worked with hundreds of people. And I told him about my experience of like, yeah, man, I felt like I was making a big difference and I enjoyed connecting with people and I genuinely enjoyed going to work every day. However, there was a point where I felt out of integrity because I knew there was more to it that I wasn't learning and that I wasn't incorporating into the practice. And it still was a system that was kind of designed it was part of the progressive system that was, again, we wanted people to heal truly and to go home, right? And we wanted to teach people how to connect more with their body and just to be more psychosomatically aware and to be self-sufficient and do exercises at home and become more functional and so they can enjoy life more. Because when people don't and they become so dissociated, then their body just deteriorates and like, all right, I guess I'm done doing this human thing. I guess I've served my purpose. And so what I noticed when I was practicing as a physical therapist assistant that I shared with him was that I noticed there was something to the conversations that we had, and people felt safe to just speak their truth, whether it was about a loved one that they didn't feel safe to share with that particular person. And they were just like pretending like I was that person. They were sharing their truth, or maybe it was just like fun desires that they had, like as children. And then sometimes we would just dream together. I was like, oh, like what have you always wanted to do? What did you used to love to do as a child, or when you're a teenager? Like what do you want now? What makes you feel alive now? Like what do you enjoy? I would talk about that a lot with people. And then also the difficult stuff too. And what I'm realizing now with all the work that I've done is we really were alchemizing things in a beautiful way, both through the spoken word and somatically, because I was also doing body work on them, like a trigger point release and all this body work while we were talking. And I realized that I was doing healing work with them in a big way. And it was not just placebo. Like there was something deeper to it that was magic. And that was unexplainable, unmeasurable. And I think it's meant to be that. I think it's the mysticism, it's the muse, it's the feminine. It's like, yeah, it's the miracles that we are. And I share this with Dr. Clint, and I just told him, I was like, yeah, man, like, I know that there's more to this in terms of like the meaning of my life and my purpose of being here, which is the service piece. I know I'm meant to be in more of a service in this way. I don't know where that's going. I just know it's there in my heart, and I know I love my parents very much. We all were brought up in like the Western medical system, and everyone is like seems like they have like their suitcase of shit, their symptoms and their disease and their diagnoses and their prescriptions that they're taking. I, for one, do not do that. I went through my whole like purging, my first purge essentially, where I, stopped going to the emergency room and finally like looked inward and all those things, but also did a body detox. And it's changed my life. And so this just seemed like the next thing, like the next step, the next level of how we can bring in deeper healing. And when I say deeper healing, for me, means just deeper love with yourself and with God, and however you resonate with that. Because there are deeper layers that are so amazing, where we truly can feel connected with everything and everyone, and we don't have to suffer, and we can truly like create what we want and express the way we want and feel safe doing it and feel seen and feel loved and celebrated, and all the things, all the basic human needs and desires of this human experience. And we didn't go too deep into it, but he just looked into my eyes and he's just like, that's so wonderful. And there was another thing I shared in a following consultation that we had a couple weeks after, where he was just like, Connor, what do you want? This is a simple question that I ask in many contexts now. I did sales for years, and it's the simplest question for anyone. If anyone shifts into fear, like drifts from what they know is true in their heart, you always can get them back by just asking simply, what do you want? What do you want? Why are you here breathing in this moment? Why do you wake up today? And I just told him, man, I want my love to be felt. I want my love to be felt. And yeah, in a sense of like projecting out, so like other people can feel my love. And again, that's could be seen as also just, I want to feel more of myself. I want to feel a deeper sense of love with myself, in what I know I'm capable of creating in this world, in this life. And he was really touched by that. That was something, again, that I just trusted in the moment, and I didn't rehearse, and I just really spoke what was true in the moment. He felt it, and so did, believe his, one of his students was named like Vinay. I'm pretty sure his name is Vinay. And he was just like, wow. And he actually sat with it for a moment, and it wasn't like this reactive thing. He's just so there with you. And anyway, yeah, so it was a very brief, like, in-person experience. And then he took my information, we hugged, and then I stuck around later. He was like, hey, just to let you know, I'm doing a demo later tonight, later this evening, several demos actually with several people. And this was the actual practice of it was of these ancient secrets. And so it's an array of diet and tuning into different parts of the body, what they call marma, different marma points in the body that you press on that activate different things in the body and open up different things in the body. And then also different things that you could say, different questions you can ask yourself and others in the process. And then different herbal remedies. So essentially what they do is they take a pulse and they can determine, again, just many things, many different like imbalances. Basically what we're doing is what they do is they're about bringing things into balance. Whatever's not in balance, that's what it's about. And that's what's different from like Eastern versus Western medicine. Is Western is more of like, we need to kill and destroy and defeat. We need to defeat cancer. We need to defeat, heart failure and all these things, obesity. Whereas the ancient secret medicine is more about just creating harmony in the body and human experience and mind, body, spirit. And it's just noticing objectively that things are out of balance. And these are the things that we can do to bring things back into balance. So number one, this is just from my own objective understanding of what I witnessed in the demos. It's a process of the mind getting clear and in balance on what it wants, and then recalibrating the body physically and then energetically. I believe the spirit connects the mind and the body. And so you're basically like getting your mind getting clear and fixated and focused on what it actually wants. Because it's easy when you experience the dis-ease and the pain and the suffering to focus on that. But if you focus then your attention and your mind on what you actually want, and then they do a series of like marma practices and stuff with the physical body, and what my understanding is that it calibrates mind, body through the spirit, and spirit could also be synonymous with love, right? You use love connects mind and spirit, calibrates it to harmony and balance, and through that miracles happen. I mean, and then also using different remedies in nature, such as ghee, such as like just how it's the idea that food could be a medicine or a toxin, and they all have different codes within them for whatever you might need. The way that I understand it is, again, if you're like in a video game, if you ever play video games when you were younger, for whatever you needed, there was like a thing, there was like a fruit that you ate, or there was some kind of a remedy or a booster or something, right? That it had a clear code as to what it did for you, for whatever you needed. Maybe you needed to power up. Maybe you needed to heal something. Maybe you needed to improve your stamina, or whatever it might be. There was a code behind it, but it was very clear what the code was. And so what I understand Ancient Secrets to be is it's the book to, like, these masters have experimented enough throughout this lineage and thousands of years, and they've found what the codes are to these different herbs and foods in nature. And so whatever our body is needing to come back to balance, there is a remedy for it. There is a medicine, and all the stuff that's artificially made in Western culture and Western medicine, it's all made from nature anyway. It all comes from it anyway. It's just not in its purest form sometimes, and it's used only to treat the symptoms. So they don't even do the first piece, which is actually calibrating back to what you actually want. Otherwise, if you're not tuning back into the channel of what you want, you're just, again, you're just treating the symptom of what you don't want. Right? That's really profound. This is actually just a realization I'm having right now in this moment. And that's why I record these, because I have my own revelations, and I really like dialed in and understand concepts that really resonate with me. But now at this moment, yeah, that's really profound. Really is what it is. The symptoms we experience are just symptoms. They're the effect of the cause of us focusing on suffering and pain and what we don't want versus what we do want, versus our truth that God is, that is always there. It's always in our heart. It's always this like obvious backdrop in our experience. But sometimes we like to just put blinders on and focus on the fear and the disease. And then the Western medicine just treats the symptoms of those. And Eastern medicine, again, that's what we mean by deeper healing. That's what they mean by deeper healing. So yeah, fast forward to a few weeks after the summit. Again, I witnessed those miracles and people just having like pain that people would literally have pain for, some people had pain for like 8 years or 10 years, even more. And then Clint would evaluate it and then do bing, bada boom, shift them back to what they actually want, anchor it in somatically. And pain that used to be like, 8, 9, 10 was reduced to like some like, maybe a 2 or 3, but some to like 0. And not just that, not just pain was gone, but their child just erupted. Like some people would just broke out in laughter, like hysterical laughter that was uncontrollable, unstoppable. It was like that pain was like alchemized and at a deep level in some way. And then it was a room of people. So then like everyone else would just, it's contagious. Laughter is one of the most contagious, highest vibrations. And so everyone else, next thing you know, was just like laughing hysterically as well. And everyone was just feeling joy, and it was amplifying and alchemizing whatever this thing was that seemed stagnant and that hadn't been flowing in the field. So I do think there's something to like the collective intention, the collective love in the field, in the space. The cool thing about it is there's wherever you're consuming this, I'll provide a link, if you want to. Highly recommend getting this book, The Ancient Secrets. It's essentially Dr. Clint, his time with his master, Dr. Naram. And he was a glorified skeptic, and then he followed this doctor, like performing what people would speak to as miracles. And when they really were just, again, people having trust and faith, shifting to what they want. And then they were quick effects when it came to the pain, but it takes years for people to reach a level of disease in their body. So when it comes to having lasting, deeper healing, that's shifting a lifestyle and years of like implementing these remedies. But people have drastic transformation and relief in just a matter of days, moments, and weeks. But in terms of like profound, like lasting, deeper healing, like changing like the actual essence of who you are, both physically and spiritually and mentally, that comes with like long-term with it, where they prescribe certain like supplements, not supplements, just herbal remedies. Because I've done the supplement thing too, and it seemed different from this. This is because they'll have herbal remedies, but they have different foods that you cook and things like that. So if you're familiar with the Ayurvedic practices, it's pretty similar to that, but this is called Siddha Veda instead of Ayurveda. And again, I'm very new to this, so these are all like just my immediate understandings, and they're very still superficial and raw. But highly recommend you to get that book, and if this is resonating with you, to dive into that yourself. And from there, so fast forward a few weeks ahead, I connected with Dr. Clint and Vinay on a virtual follow-up. And again, it's always so refreshing connecting with that man and his smile and his story that you'll hear in his book once you read it. It's also an audiobook that I listened to it in like a matter of days, because it's one of those things that's just like I couldn't stop listening to it. And I also couldn't help not implementing the immediate thing. So what he recommended me do, he told me that, hey, stop puppies. I have puppies barking. Guys, no. The dogs are fine. They love you. You love them. One thing that he recommended was, hey, well, we have a challenge coming up, a detox challenge. And I've always had so many resistances to different challenges and detoxes and things like that. I've had profound experience with just fasting, like intermittent fasting and things like that. Also like sitting with ayahuasca, and shifting to more of just like a fully like detox plant-based dieta. And so I knew there was something in store, and there's a specific soup that they are huge advocates of. It's called Mung soup, or Mung Bean Soup, MUNG or MOONG bean soup. And it's supposed to be, again, it's one of these remedies that has all of these ingredients, some that I've heard of and others that I haven't. And when you make this and you eat it for like a week or even 30 days, they even have a 30-day one. I'm in the midst of doing the 7-day one right now. I'm on day 1 right now, but I haven't even eaten it yet. The first day is just a fast. So anyway, he was like, Connor, like, here's some things I recommend for you. He didn't force me into anything. He was just like, dude, just doing these like simple things would transform your existence. One thing was like, yeah, man, like every morning waking up and having 1 teaspoon of ghee, of like cow's ghee, like very like just raw, like organic, clarified cow's ghee. And if you're not familiar, it's just like I just experienced that as a pure form of butter, because a lot of the butter is very processed and pasteurized and all the things. So, and just that alone, before I even started the 7-day challenge, he was just like, yeah, man, just have that in the morning on an empty stomach, and then listen to this meditation from Dr. Naram. And of course, I had my skeptic, the skeptic part of me was just like, all right. Again, because it resonated deeply, but of course, like the skeptic mind was just like, I don't know about this, but I did it anyway. Because right now I was at a point in my life, I've driven myself to a point in my life where I have no distractions and I'm just present with what is. And what led me to this man and what he speaks and the story that he told, I was like, I have nothing to lose. So just doing that alone, having the ghee in the morning, I didn't crave sugar. I didn't crave anything. I had, like, when I was just actually aware of what happened in my body, it was just like everything was falling into balance. I noticed different parts of my body that I wasn't tuned into, just all of a sudden were just like flooding with love. I mean, I don't know, it was just like, and that again, it truly is, whatever the consistency is of the essence of whatever you're eating is what you will feel in your body. Like, it's so true. It's so true. Like whenever I would eat like too much meat or whatever, and I wouldn't chew it enough, that would literally, I would feel that density in my body. And the ghee, again, just has this consistency of, I'm sure there's more to it scientifically, but it just has this like consistency, and it just melts in your mouth, right? And it's just like this very pure thing that comes from the udder of this, of a cow, and has all these rich nutrients, obviously, but it just like it melts in my mouth, like it just melts. It felt like my body was just melting into itself and out of separation. It was like my body was melting into all that is around me. And so I get it now. Like I just, it's not just a superficial thing. It's just like the very essence of what this thing is literally what my body can take on and what my body can embody. And it's true. And just that, so that alone sold me on, like, sold me on, I know when I just listen to this thing that's been tested for thousands of years to help people cure cancer, like heal cancer, and all these things, all these miracles that Western medicine just doesn't fully understand, or sometimes they think there's no solution. The solutions are all around us. And it can be it truly is as simple as like food. I didn't get to this place with food either until I realized that we actually don't need food. We don't need food every single day to survive. And when I realized that my relationship with food was more like as an emotional placeholder, like when I wasn't able to feel or process an emotion, I would just eat and then put that emotion in the food, and then that would process through my body. Whenever that food just when I let that go, and I healed that through sitting with ayahuasca, which I have another video on. But when I realized that, I was like, okay, like food is an experience. Like people eat, animals feed, people eat. Food is an experience. And when we actually get intentional about what our food actually is at its core intention, like its core divine intention, miracles can happen. Like, and so, yeah. So anyway, I chose to participate in the 7-day detox. And it's basically like the first day is just basically nothing. I mean, you can drink some ginger tea or this other tea that they talk about. I forget what it's called. Or you can eat. No, that's it. It's just you can't have rice or vegetables or anything. It's just you're fasting for the first day, and you can only have tea. They have two different versions. I'm doing the more intense version. The first one is basic for 7 days. You just eat mung soup, mung bean soup with vegetables, and you do that for 7 days. I'm doing the more intense one, which is you're basically fasting for the first day, and then day 2 and day 3, you're eating mung bean soup without vegetables or without basmati rice or anything like that, or without grains. And then for days 4 and 5, you introduce the vegetables. And then for 6 and 7, I think then you introduce, like, they give you recipes for smoothies and things like that. And so I say all that to say as a backdrop to where I am today. And I am now well over 12 hours into my day 1, which is basically the fasting day. And it's beautiful because I kick off the day on a Zoom call with it's the global community that is that feels called, and that's part of this healing movement, this deeper healing movement. And when I went there, I was feeling really drained because I didn't get a lot of sleep the night prior. However, I just, even in the state that I felt like low energy. I still felt very accepted and very seen. And it was also a day to celebrate the gurus of the lineage and the guru within ourselves. And that's also why I love this community. It's not like about people who are like, oh, I have the answer and I'm your guru and like pay me all this money, I'll give you the secrets. Because they basically give away everything for free. And they've been opening clinics and doing this with thousands and thousands of people all across the world, all across the globe, with free open clinics, and then people just pay what they want if they. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And so all that I knew is that I in some capacity, I wanted to be a part of this, and I know it's a part of my path in some way. But right now, where I would usually accelerate into like, oh, I want to learn the thing, I want to learn how to do this and help people and like get paid for it. Now I'm just actually focused and honoring my own healing before I give it forward. And this is a way that I can give it forward in the process of giving it to myself. Recording it live right now. And I'm sure if you're watching this, who knows, maybe you're watching this a year after I published this, and now after I've gone into these teachings, maybe it's just like a week after or 10 years after, and this thing is still public somewhere and this is reaching you. I just want you to know that is my intention, for this to reach people and to inspire you and to become curious and to connect with what you truly want, because you get to have everything that you want in this life. There's a reason why that truth is planted in your heart. There's a reason God put it there. So it just requires patience and loving yourself enough to remain curious like a child, and continue to like ask for what you need. If this speaks to you, continue to follow the curiosity of learning more about this, getting the book, listening to it, reaching out to either myself or whoever to learn more about how you can experience deeper healing. And one of my favorite quotes from the book is, "I'm not here to be your teacher. I'm here to love you. Love is your teacher. Love will be your teacher." It's just like that. It's so good. It's so much. It's one of those things, man, that I'm just like, they're like all these truths being thrown around, but that's one that just hits deeper than anything else. And it's just like this root. It's like the root within roots that just keeps on reverberating in my existence, in all different ways, keeps showing up. Whether I like listen to it or not, whether I hear it or not, whether I see it or not, it's there always, in people and places and in my own thoughts. Now I just feel like I'm actually acknowledging it, and fully. And so, yeah, definitely at different parts of the day where I was feeling emotions. There are different parts of my day where I felt like, oh, I'm in a place where I'm just house sitting and I'm taking care of dogs. That's Miss Annie Mae behind me. I'm just house sitting and taking care of dogs, and I'm, for the first time in my life, I'm not like trying to hustle to make money. I'm just actually present with what is. But don't get me wrong, the oscillation is real, and I fall into all like the traps that just kind of keep me from sharing my truth and what I'm doing now. And it was so funny. There were so many signs that were pointing to this day. This is like a full moon day, as being a big shift and a powerful day to really be present with what's true and setting intentions and practical actions and things like that. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm anchoring this in by recording this for you now, because I know it's important. And again, there are different things throughout the day, that different emotions I was sitting with, that where I would usually go and eat to suppress it and to just like do and do the thing, do the reps and do the thing, like to make the money, do these little hustles, when I'm going to add value in so many ways, but I think what's most important is that I tell my story. And that is funny. When I was at the meeting today, Dr. Clint pointed me out. There were like 60 plus people on this call, and it was my first one. He's like, "Oh, Connor, I'm so happy you're here. I know it's your first time, but I'd love for you to share what love has taught you today." That's another good prompt that people share in these containers, is they ask you, "What has love taught you today? What did love teach you today?" And again, I wasn't rehearsing anything in my mind. The truest thing that I shared in that moment was, you know what, Clint, if you hear the grunting in the background, it's the dog scratching their back, I think. I was like, you know what feels really good right now is that there's a reason why we have these stories in our heart. And all we have to remember is to tell our story each day. Whether it's like an immediate thing that happened to you, or it's like the backstory, right? Some chapter in your story. I feel like we're here to rewrite not our past, but our relationship with our past, so that it stops dictating who we are in the present moment. And now we love it, and now we free ourselves from it. And I think it's also, again, it's telling the child in us who is there to express, and who is that spark and that radiance, who allows us to just be our abundant, authentic selves in the present moment. And so I feel like us telling our stories consistently and us giving ourselves permission to do that is us reconciling and finally turning back to the child in us and being like, hey, wow, I'm so sorry for abandoning you the way that I did. And so it's just honoring and celebrating that child that's been just like banging at your leg for so long. Well, this is me acknowledging that child who just wants to tell stories, and who just wants to sing, and who just wants to dance. And I'm making music now, and I'm honoring that part of my child, and I'm dancing. And I think that the next big pillar is storytelling. And so I think the three biggest pillars for me, and I've been speaking to this, it's been such a truth in my heart, but I'm just finding a way how to like practically honor those parts of me every single day. And I really think these are the pillars that are going to unlock so many things in so many ways for myself and for so many others, is singing, dancing, and storytelling. Creating just a platform for me to do that every single day, for this child within me to be able to do that every single day in different ways, with different characters and different like people and places and flavors and perspectives and dimensions, all the things. So that's what I've really unlocked just in day one. And I'm going to, this is going to be a series in a journal. I don't know if this is going to be on a podcast. You may be watching this on a YouTube channel. Actually, yeah, I'm going to declare this now. Like this, that is my intention. My intention is to release this in all the ways that I possibly can, for it to reach those who are ready for it. Because I'm here to build my platform. I'm here to build my brand. I'm here to tell my story. Because I know, even if it just reaches one person, I mean, first of all, I know it's reaching myself. I know it's reaching the child in me and all these parts of me that I've been rejecting for so long. So that's enough. So my wish, my prayer is for it to also even just reach one other person. And if it does that, man, just feeling that. Just feeling that reality in this moment, like it reaching someone and then reaching back out to me and being like, wow, Connor. Because this has been happening, like not just with this in this context, but with music. I just put my music out, not even expecting it to impact people. People reach out and they'd be like, Connor, I'm sitting in the hospital bed with my mom who's suffering from cancer, and I'm just sitting out the window depressed, or just in this feeling of almost hopelessness, or like whatever the emotions were. I don't want to dishonor what their feelings were. I don't fully remember, but and then just being like, Connor, when I listen to your song, when I listen to your music, just there was immediate shift in my being, in my emotion, from again just what we don't want, obviously, which is this cancer, which is this pain and the suffering, and what we don't want, to hope and faith and love and possibility. And that was a family friend, and I've even had like just total strangers reach out to me, fellow artists who told me how it's affected them in a positive way. It's the greatest gift. It's the greatest gift. Just, and as I share this now, it's further deeper validation as to why I'm here to do this. This makes so much sense. So I'm going to continue singing. I'm going to continue dancing. I'm going to continue telling my story. I know everything else is just going to work out. It is. It really is. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. I got my friend. My little angel. Thank you. He's just been clinging on to me. This is Cooper. He's the yin of this duo. He's such a passionate lover. Yes, you are. All right, now. Thank you so much. So yeah. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. If any of this resonates with you, please reach out. I'd love to connect with you, and I'd love to help you in any way that I can, even if it's just seeing you and providing some presence and some love. I feel like I'm giving that to myself right now as I record this. I want to invite more people to this challenge. If you're not, yeah, hope you can feel the impact that this could have in your life. This is just day one. I haven't even done the soup thing. It's just reminding me that I don't need the soup or any of that. I think this is really just reminding me that, that I'm just here to acknowledge me and fall deeper in love with myself and God, and seeing the miracle of myself in the mirror. And it's funny, I made a post like 2 days ago of like my prayer. This is like my prayer being answered. Wow. Well, let me plug in my charger. I literally said my prayer is that every human gets to wake up in the morning, look themselves in the mirror, and witness and just be of witness to the miracle, the miraculous beauty that is reflected back at them. And there was a part of me that actually wanted, because I hadn't actually experienced that, and I kind of gaslighted myself because I thought I had, but I don't think I truly have until this moment. I'm so grateful. But now, from a really embodied place, I still pray. That prayer is still true. I will never forget all of humanity. And it was not going to all happen at once. But anyone who wants that, I'm here for it. I'm here for you. I love you so much. I love you so much. So, all right. Well, I have the rest of the day ahead of me. If anything profound happens, I'll maybe recap the end of the day for day two's journal. And we'll make it kind of like overlapping. So I can cover like second half of day one, first half of day two. But anyway, if you've watched this whole hour, I'm just so grateful to be here with you, to be living this life, to be on this journey. I feel so connected to you and everyone around me, everything. For the first time in my life, like I all the ideas and the concepts of this separation consciousness and stuff, I kind of just dissolving in this illusion of separation. It truly is kind of all just falling away, and I finally am remembering what it's like to be home. So, all right, with that, I will sign out. I'll sign out for today's intro of the Ancient Healing Secrets 7-day detox series and journal. I love you very much and sending you so many blessings. Until next time. Mwah.